Hello, I'm Tracy Grimshaw. Welcome to this special edition of A Current Affair, where tonight we look at two horrendous crimes that have shocked Australia. We begin with a love triangle that ended in murder. Tonight, for the first time, a young mother, her de facto partner and her much older lover, and the crude plan to kill Alois Rez by lacing his mashed potato with sleeping pills. Alison Petrowski has this investigation.
I said to him that I wanted him gone and I never wanted to see him again.
His brother and a friend came out and said, "Mate, Sarah's been charged with murder." Then it hit me.
A secret affair. The older man.
My view is he's a liar and not a very good one at that.
A love triangle leading to a murder cooked up in a serve of mashed potato.
Food that you put the sleeping tablets into, what sort of food was that?
Mashed potato.
I just kept on waiting for him to come back through the door.
Tonight, the baffling case that started in the kitchen and ended up in a prison cell. We speak to the police who cracked the case.
We later linked that piece of blood to Alois's DNA, being Alois's blood.
The flatmate home the night one of his best mates was killed.
How did you break the news to your family that you were a suspect in a murder?
I just blatantly let them know, said, "Look, Alois he's gone, he's dead. He has been murdered and I'm a suspect."
We show you the never-before-seen police interviews.
The time is 3:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, the 10th of August.
And how detectives managed to get the killers behind bars, even without a body.
Their stupidity helped us immensely.
What kind of man was Alois?
He was the best kind of bloke. He was like a big teddy bear with a rough exterior that wasn't hard to see past. He was a great dad. He loved helping people. And it was pretty much like that was his mission in life.
You considered him a good friend?
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved him like a brother.
Alois Rez and Sarah Tarrant had been lovers for 9 years. By the time she was 24, they had 4 children together. But what seemed like a tight bond on paper was anything but. Sarah was having an affair with Raymond Roff, a man nearly 30 years her senior.
Could you have fathomed that Sarah and Raymond had an affair going on?
No. A bloke past middle age and a girl in her early 20s, it just sounded ridiculous.
Raymond Roff had been a long-time family friend of the Rezes and had just lost his wife to cancer. Police believe Sarah was the aggressor in the relationship, luring Raymond in with sexually explicit photos. Their relationship soon became a full-blown affair.
What was the name that you put on your phone for Sarah?
Hot, sexy, yummy mummy.
They would meet on most school days, sometimes twice a day.
Whereabouts?
Near the riverbank,
Where?
under the LH Ford Bridge.
Have sex there?
A couple of times, yes.
Besotted, even writing love letters to one another. In the month leading up to the murder, their relationship moved to a whole new level. Sarah was pregnant. She believed it was Roff's baby. Roff gave her an ultimatum: leave him or I'll leave you. Together they came up with a plan, and it was the night of Sunday the 28th of July when it would all come to a horrible end inside this home. Mr. Roff gave Sarah a bag of crushed sleeping tablets and told her to put them into Alois's food. Sarah mixed it into Alois's mashed potato. An hour or so later, their flatmate Hamish Lowe came home with his young son Peyton and thought Alois's behaviour seemed out of character.
I asked him if he was high. That seemed a bit not right with me because Alois didn't do drugs. And he told me that, no, he's just a bit drowsy because of all the painkillers he'd been taking, and he reached behind his head and he pulled out a blister pack that was almost empty. He was complaining about head and back aches. His head started to drop. His eyes were closed and his head was facing downwards. By the end of it, and he said, "Anyway, man, I feel like I need to crash." So I said, "All right, dude, see you in the morning." Gave him a high five, and that was the last time I ever saw him.
Throughout the evening, Sarah sent Roff texts on Aloise's condition.
And they were still planning in that last hour or so. Have you left the door open? Have you turned the security cameras off? Have you left towels on the bed for me?
Is the front porch light turned off?
There was another period of the night where I heard footsteps slowly walking up and down the hall outside of my bedroom. My door slid open, and that was Sarah Tarrant looking at me.
What do you want?
I said, "Yeah, what do you want?" And then the door slowly closed. I didn't think anything of it, and I went back to sleep.
We've come to know that around 2 a.m, Raymond Roff came to the house and killed sleeping Aloise by an unknown means. He and Sarah then moved the body to his car.
Alois was lying on the cement on the driveway. Raymond had come up to me and told me he needed help to put Alois in his vehicle because he couldn't by himself. So I helped him place Alois's lifeless body into the back of his car. He didn't say where he was going. He didn't say where he was taking him. I left and went back inside.
No one knows where Roff headed that night, but he was captured on numerous CCTVs around town. That was Sunday night. It wasn't unusual for Aloise to be away from the house for a while, but after a couple of days, Hamish became concerned.
I started sending text messages asking what was wrong. I tried to ring the phone. It was never on. I even sent him a message saying, "Look, man, just let me know you're okay. If you don't want anybody else to know where you are, I won't say anything." No response.
Sarah didn't report Aloise missing until 5 days later. Both she and Roff reported to the police together, and in their initial interviews, they deny any knowledge of what happened to Aloise. Sarah even trying to pretend that a bikie gang could be responsible.
He started getting threatening messages saying that we better move, he better watch his back, they're coming to get him.
He had got out of the rebels, but she decided that they'd try and blame the rebels, and she said that she was scared that the rebels would come and get her if she started talking.
One of the messages that got sent was 2 guns pointing and saying you better watch out.
Detective Senior Constable Scott Heckendorf and Detective Sergeant Scott Baker led the case for the Dubbo Police.
So when you guys came along at a later date, was there any evidence that there had been a murder?
Yeah, a couple of weeks later, when we received further information about what actually transpired here, we done some forensic testing with the Forensic Services Group and located a droplet of blood in the crack in the driveway.
On Monday the 19th of August, a fisherman found a number of items of bedding floating in the Macquarie River. That bedding matched the description of Aloise's bedding. Within that bedding, there were a number of sheets with dog hairs on them. Those dog hairs, in the end, matched Roff's own dog, and they became crucial pieces of evidence in a case where there was no body.
Dubbo Police also seized Roff's car and found further damning evidence, including a large amount of blood in the boot and an empty packet of sleeping tablet Tamaz prescribed to Roff's late wife. They also found women's underwear at Roff's property and a love letter between Sarah and Roff. Roff then came to admit that they were in a relationship together. The police brought Sarah back in for another interview.
While we were interviewing her, another detectives obtained her phone, and then they were going through her phone, downloading it, and they came across some Facebook messages, which told us another story of what was going on.
Okay, still waiting for it to drop off. All kids sleeping. Wish it would hurry up and work.
What does that mean?
Sarah's silence is deafening.
I'll just read it out to you again. Okay, still waiting for it to drop off. All kids sleeping. Wish it would hurry up and work.
Mike gave me sleeping tablets.
Mike gave you his sleeping tablets.
I don't know if they were his or whose they were.
What'd you do with those sleeping tablets?
Gave them to Alois.
And why did you do that?
To put him to sleep.
Why?
Yous have read these. I know. I know what's there.
You know what's there.
I know what's there.
What's there was not only confirmation of the affair, but confirmation of her and Raymond's role in Alois Rez's disappearance.
She couldn't be with Ray, with Alois around. It's the only reason she gave us.
If you don't want to be with your partner, do you have to kill them? Can't you just leave them?
Well, that's a question we've been asking ourselves over the entirety of
3
this.
years.
Yeah, she could have just packed up and left with the kids, without the kids. She was having a relationship with an older man who could have supported her in some way, shape or form, I guess. She could have just left. Very simple.
Didn't think that he'd hurt him.
You didn't think he'd hurt him?
No.
What did you think he was going to do?
Scare him.
But unlike Sarah, Roth decided to stick with denying any involvement, despite the mounting evidence.
We found a large quantity of blood in the rear boot of your car. Do you understand that?
So I've been told, yes.
Okay. Is there anything you can tell me as to how that blood got into your
I
vehicle?
have no idea.
Okay. Is it the case that you had some involvement in the disappearance and murder of Alois, and that's how the blood got in the car?
I have nothing to do with anything with Alois's disappearance or murder or any of that. I have had nothing to do with it.
With all that coupled together, yeah, we're satisfied. We had a strong case against both Raymond Roth and Sarah Tarrant for murder.
Raymond Roth was sentenced to a minimum 24 years behind bars for the murder of Alois Rez. As for Sarah Tarrant, she was cleared of murder but sentenced to 8 years behind bars for the lesser charge of manslaughter. We understand she's had that 5th child and it's currently in the care of Sarah's mother.
Do you know where Alois is at the moment?
No.
Know where the body of Alois is at the moment?
No.
But this is not a full stop for Alois Rez's family.
Where's the body at, Sarah?
I don't know.
It's been more than 3 years since his murder, and still his body has never been found.
I lose sleep trying to think of ways we could have done better to help find the body of Alois and put him to rest. And I guess that's just me personally. I couldn't imagine what the family are sort of going through at the moment, grappling with that themselves.
I mean, nobody's been able to say goodbye properly. And there's a big lack of closure.
Hamish Lowe still thinks about Alois Rez every day and how that fateful night 3 years ago could have unfolded very differently.
What would have happened if I'd have woken up in the middle of these guys doing whatever it was that they were doing? And yeah, I wondered why I was still alive.
If you had the chance now to say goodbye to Alois properly, what would you say to him?
I'd just give him a big hug and tell him I love him.
This interview is concluded.
Both Sarah Tarrant and Raymond Roth have filed notice to appeal their sentences.